Hey guys, just following on from my last video I made 2 days ago. Um, I gave a little bit of detail about my spark has gone out and different methods and systems to try and sort of relight that fire and get that spark going again. So myself and Steph have been talking about it for a while, and we thought we'd make a quick video about that particular issue and also what we're going to do about it. So I'll pass you over to Steph.
Right. So yeah, we've talked a bit about both of us being in a bit of a Glenn's quite particular about his terminology, whether it's a slump or a brain fart or just a lose your spark, whatever. I mean, call it what you want, but life's been a bit difficult recently for both of us. But I mean, that's life. Life is life, right? I won't go into loads of detail about my situation. I mean, Glenn touched on his, but I've started a new job and there's just a lot of stress in my life right now. So just having said that, are we going to talk about what we're doing first? And then we'll go into kind of where we were with it. Okay, so I won't go into any more detail about that. So Glenn and I have decided both to do a water fast for a lot of reasons. And just to kind of preface the entire thing, it's because I know you've all watched, Glenn's weight loss journey, and I've talked about how I lost over 40 pounds and I've struggled with eating disorders and I've lost too much weight. And this is not about weight loss. It will be for Glenn, a added benefit in the end. Like you probably, because it does certain things. It resets your metabolism. It helps you to, we'll go into all the details of like the benefits of fasting, but it wasn't the starting point when we talked about doing a water fast. It wasn't about diet or weight. So let's just start by saying that. Glenn, do you want to talk a bit about the last water fast you did and how it made you feel?
Yeah, definitely. So just to go on from what Steph just said then, the place I was in was almost trying to reinvent myself every day for the following day, and it was that thing of tomorrow I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and when tomorrow comes, not doing it. I think everyone knows that feeling. It's
Can you
difficult.
give some more examples? Sorry to interrupt you. Can you give some examples of what you're going to do tomorrow? Like,
Yeah. Okay. So if I'd for me at the moment, life's pretty simple. Although it's not simple actually. My world's upside down. But the basic things I like to do is to keep myself reasonably fit by doing some exercise and eating a healthy dietary plan, which keeps me in a pretty good place. And when that starts to falter, it makes me feel a little bit shitty. And the more and more I try to get out of it, for some reason, I dig my heels in and I don't do it. And it gets really frustrating. So I did it for a couple of days and it was like, okay, a couple of days is fine, but you really need to try get this situation back in order. So I would plan for the following day. So it could be like 6 p.m. and I'd be planning, right, this is what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm going to get up, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Meaning put some exercise in there, go for a walk, go for a run. I'm going to skip breakfast. So I've got a little bit of intermittent fasting going on. Whatever. But as soon as the morning came, probably for the first 20 minutes, you get up and yeah, you're full of good intentions, but it just peters away very quickly. And before you know it, it's 11 a.m. and you've done nothing. And it's quite draining when it gets to that stage. And me personally, I give it a good go and I keep trying. But when I lose that spark, it's really difficult for me to get back. And I think everyone watching this will understand how that feels.
can I just mention something that you didn't talk about, but the smoking.
Yeah.
That's something that you and I both have picked up over the last, I don't know, few months. I guess it was summer when I started a bit. Continued to smoke some, tried to quit it, it was kind of off and on. Now, and I've not even been counting the days, but I quit a couple of weeks ago. And I did really well, apart from one day, a few days ago, I bought a pack of cigarettes and I had one, and I called Glenn and decided to, change my mind about that. It was a stupid thing to do. I threw the cigarettes away. I have not had another one. I'm fine. I'm out of the sort of physical feeling addicted or feeling like I needed cigarettes. It was all part of that place I was in where life was getting on top of me. I was feeling overwhelmed, and I started making excuses, and like, I'm stressed out right now. I can smoke now. I have every reason to. There's no reason not to do something to help me with like stress relief. It's ridiculous, but I talked myself into it. And anyway, so that is one of the things I think you were talking about when you say like the good intentions is, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna quit smoking. I'm gonna eat healthy, or I'm not gonna eat the crap food or whatever. It's one of those things, and then by whatever time in the day you're like, oh, you know what, and you come up with excuses, and then it's so like you say, the motivation, it's not there when you need it.
Very true. Very true. You cannot rely on motivation.
So that was one of our reasons for kind of looking at where we're at right now, and so we've decided to do a water fast to kickstart. I don't know, how would you define our water fast? What is the point of it?
For me, it's a factory reset for your system is the best way of me explaining it. I've done it previously. I've done it twice before. I did it for 3 days and 2 days, and its benefits are apparent quite early doors when you start. Don't get me wrong, it's difficult. You've got to go into it in the right mindset, knowing what you're going to do. Mainly not having the mindset of thinking what you're missing out on while you're doing it, and a more positive mindset, thinking you're choosing to do this for whatever reasons you've got. I'll just go through quickly my take on it, and then Steph will probably give us the science behind it. You lose a ton of weight, but if you're going into it to lose weight, you're going to be sadly, the weight will go back on. It's not a true reflection while you're doing it of your weight. And a week or 2 weeks after, the majority of the weight you've lost, or a large chunk of it, will be back on. The benefit of any weight that you keep off is it's pretty much pure fat that you've lost. Now, I know Steph will go into the science of this later, but so primarily, I can't speak today. Say it, Steph.
Primarily.
Thank you. The number one reason is to reset my system. Whether I do it for two or 3 or even longer, at the end of it, you get kind of a fresh start again. That's the way I look at it. So, given the nature of a water fast anyway, so if you do it for 3 days, then you're effectively signing up for 4 days, because you can't just go back and eat what you were eating on the 4th day, because your digestive system can't handle that.
Well, we'll talk about breaking the fast and how you gently.
Yeah, I'm just making the point that when you sign up to it, you need to give yourself an extra 1 or 2 days. It's not like you finish day 3 and then you're back to normal.
Yeah,
that's
all about that mindset of it's not a starvation thing. It's you're cleansing your body. You're allowing your body to reset, as you say. But it's a reset for a number of things. Your immune system, your metabolism. And we'll talk more about the different benefits, physical benefits, but there's a real mental benefit you get from it. It actually grows brain cells. It actually increases neuroplasticity, and it helps your brain to function better. It
good.
Just increases brain chemistry function. So there's a lot of benefits to.
It's huge, and the more sort of research you do on it, and obviously the problem is if you go directly to places like YouTube and that, you can be overwhelmed with information that's not always 100% correct. So you really do need to shop around when you're researching it yourself, and sum up the pros and cons, because there are a few. But what I will start out and say is you can actually do this under medical supervision, and people have done it for over a year on water alone. A few supplements in between, medical supplements and things. But what I'm saying is, in the grand scheme of things, if you're choosing to do 2 or 3 days, it's not that big a deal.
Nutrition wise, as far as like nutritional deficiencies and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you Google a 12-month water fast, you'll be absolutely shocked by some of the results that people have done. I'm not saying for a moment it's a good idea, and you certainly couldn't hold down a job while you were doing that. But I'm just making the point that doing 48 hours on water alone is really not a problem physically to the human body.
Why do you say you couldn't hold down a job during that time?
Because you get very, from day 2 onwards, you get a little bit fatigued. It's a different type of fatigue. Obviously, I don't want to steal your thunder, but basically the idea of a water fast is to put your body into ketosis, which means your body is burning your fat cells. Now, while it's doing that, it's trying to conserve everything else, I'm guessing. So what I'm saying is you're not full of energy, whether it be a physical or mental job. I think for a long period of time, as in anything over 3 days, I think it might be quite difficult if you're working. But I've never done it while I was working, so I wouldn't know.
Just from the research I've done, I would say that a lot of the experts on fasting would actually argue that you get an increase in energy, an increase in mental clarity, and that over time you actually are, especially if you're someone who's quite overweight, has a lot of fat to burn, because when your body does shift into burning fat as its primary fuel source, it quickly adapts to that, and you don't feel hunger because you are feeding. You're just feeding off your own fat. And so it gives you energy.
Right.
Just like if you were eating, it's the same thing. Your body's still getting energy. If you have fat there to be burned, you're not in starvation mode. That's one of the myths about fasting, is that it puts you in starvation. You're not actually in starvation. You're burning your body's primary or preferred source of fuel after the sugar is gone, and that's fat. And that's one of the things that happens with the first I think it's the first 24 hours of fasting is what you're actually going into before ketosis is glycogen exhaustion. So your glycogen is stored in your liver and in your muscles. Once your liver glycogen is used up, your muscle glycogen, first your muscle glycogen is used up, and then your liver glycogen starts to get used up. So once that's completely exhausted, that's when your body shifts into burning the fat, because there's the body's preferred source of fuel is sugar. So once that's gone, then it shifts into fat burning. So if you have a lot of fat to burn, like I think the person you were talking about, that example of that Angus, one Scottish guy, who fasted for a year, but he was extremely obese. But I mean, I don't know any more details about his case, but I mean, if you go a year without eating anything and you've got that much weight, your body's going to just adapt to feeding off of that fat every day as if it's having a meal. You know,
it's not uncommon for people to do 30 days at a time doing water fast. So again, that's just the point I'm making. You don't go into it thinking, whoa, 24 hours or 48 hours is such a long time without food. It's not at all.
No. In fact, the benefits, all of the benefits of fasting, you don't even get those benefits until you've done at least 24 hours.
Yeah.
That's when your body starts to shift into these, a shift in your metabolism, and shift into burning fat as opposed to glycogen stores. And also when your immune system starts to reset, because what happens after 3 days of fasting, your white blood cells start to die off, which is actually a good thing, because once those white blood cells die off, then new ones are created, which essentially resets your immune system. But that takes 3 days before that even starts to happen. So prolonged fasting, it's really kind of the longer you go to a point, you have to be, you have to have a lot of fat stores in order to carry on for, 30 days or longer. And certainly I couldn't do that. And my body fat percentage is 19%. I don't have the extra fat to carry on longer than that. I know. But one thing I read that was quite interesting is fasting actually burns not just excess fat, that you can see, but adipose fat, which is the fat that surrounds your organs, which I actually have a bit more of. Like I'm what you would call an apple shape. Like I carry my fat around my belly. So even at 19% body fat, I have more belly fat, right? So I'm actually at sort of moderate risk for diseases related to obesity, even though I'm what you might call a skinny fat, right? So this water fast will actually help to burn adipose inner layers of fat for me, but I wouldn't go more than a few days.
So, Steph, you're committing to 2 full days, aren't you?
I'm committing to 2 full days because I don't think you see any benefits, or you don't see as many of the benefits of the production of new brain cells and immune system cells and the benefits we're talking about. I don't think you see that unless you do at least 24 hours. So yeah, I'm going to do 24 hours.
48 hours.
48 hours, 2 days. Sorry. I'm thinking two days of your actual eating days, yeah.
Leave the maths to me, love.
You know what I mean.
So I'm committing to a minimum of 3 days because I want to beat my last time I did it. But I'm hoping to go quite a lot further than that. But it's just silly words at the moment because, as Steph just said, you really got to listen to your body and see how you feel. So what do? Well, you just drink water. That's it. It's as simple as that. You don't have to do anything else. Put your line in the sand, pick the night, have your last thing to eat, go to bed, and then when you wake up, that's the beginning of it. Or you can go back from, if you ate your last thing at 8 p.m. the night before, you can start then. Doesn't really matter, although your digestive system's got to digest the food in your gut, first of all. So yeah, you just drink water, and the ideal amount is between 2 and 3 litres of water every day, which when you're only living on water, it's quite easy to consume that amount. I know from experience and from others, but when you're on a calorie restricted diet or what have you, and you're telling people, you've got to be doing 2 litres of water as well, people struggle to get that kind of volume down, but you don't really struggle when you're water fasting. My biggest tip for anyone who's thinking about it to start off is get a good amount of water into your system early morning that first day to fill your body up. I think that's the key. I think you don't just get up and not eat and then mince around the house for an hour or 2 hours and then you'll have a little glass of water. Start as you mean to go on. Have a fair amount of water, half a litre or whatever. First thing, not straight down, but in the first hour, and it just puts you in a really good place. So that's it. Yeah, you just drink water, no chewing gum, nothing's really allowed. Although there are little cheats, as Steph might talk about. I am slightly cheating this time. You can't really make it out there, but in that water there's a tiny little bit of diluted juice, and I mean a tiny little bit. When I did the 3 days last time round, I just did it on water alone, and from memory, I think I caved after 3 days because the water was just so bland, and it was hard work. So I decided this time round. Now, maybe Steph and the scientists will tell you, well, that's not 100% water fast, and I suppose on paper it's not. But as again, the amount, a glass that size, it's got where is it? Starts there. It's got about that much juice in, like 2 mil of juice.
I need to jump in now and speak to that. There's nothing wrong with having. I mean, when you're fasting, you're what you're doing is you're not having solid food. the benefits of fasting, you're going to get the same benefits of fasting if you add in a few herbal teas or even a bit of black coffee. That's not going to change. I mean, if you want to be hardcore and do just water and have a water fast, I mean, that's more of a mentality thing.
Yeah.
But having a small, I mean, I have lemon in my water. I mean, that doesn't change the benefits you get from the fast. In fact, water fasting is a little bit extreme. Let me finish. What?
Just one thing that is really important, though. You're right. I don't think this does matter, but diluted juice does have a few calories in it.
Yeah, of course it has a few calories, but it doesn't have enough calories to shift what your body has done, which is focusing on releasing toxins and clearing up cellular debris and all this stuff that it's shifting into. That few calories isn't going to make your body think, oh, okay, right now we're digesting food. No, it's still going to see what its job is at that moment is being, detoxification. So and on top of that, another way to fast is with juice. And when I say juice, I'm not talking about what you mean by juice, which is what you put in your glass, and that's like a little bit of like flavored fruit juice. I'm talking about fresh, organic, fresh pressed organic vegetable juice, carrot, beet, celery, parsley, kale, and not a great deal of it. You're talking about drinking 2 liters of water a day. I'm not talking about having that amount of juice instead. Saying a few times a day, having some fresh pressed organic juice actually stimulates the release of the toxins in your body and helps to eliminate all that cellular debris and waste. So it's actually, I think, from everything I've read, a bit more beneficial to have a little bit of something like that during your fast. It doesn't break your fast, doesn't change the fact that you're fasting.
I just think we've got to be careful and not put people off by who are thinking about doing it. If the correct way of doing it is water only. If you need to make it a little bit easier for yourself, then you can. It's called a water fast for a reason. Now, yeah, all I'm saying is the more little bits you add into it, the purity of what you're doing is going away slightly.
Okay, well, we have to agree to disagree on that because, as I said,
but the outcome is still, as Steph's saying, the outcome is still roughly the same. Couple of things to be aware of. Obviously, as I said, you can't have chewing gum or anything like that. It's just water only. Your first 24 hours, not a great deal happens as long as you fill up with water correctly in the first place. Like I've done, I'm 17 and a half hours into it now. As long as you fill up correctly with water, the hunger's not there straight away. And that's, if you go into it really hungry before you start, you're on a hiding to nothing, in my opinion. You're going to struggle. But if you deal with that hunger side straight away, what will happen, and a lot of people don't believe this, but I've experienced it twice, your hunger disappears after the first day. I mean, sorry, Steph.
Oh, it will, yes, of course, it will.
Which is an amazing feeling, because obviously you feel your tummy and everything's starting to tighten. I can feel it now, and I'm only 17 hours into it. It's as if you're kind of shrinking down. I don't know the science behind it, but you feel a little bit skinnier. But yeah, just to make you aware that the first 24 hours is, you just need to get through that because
we're so used to eating 3 times a day. Yeah. We're programmed to, you have to eat every few hours to maintain your blood sugar levels. And with certain conditions, there's some truth to that, but actually fasting, it stabilizes your blood sugar levels. It doesn't, one of the things, I'm a huge, advocate of intermittent fasting, which I've done. I was going to say as well with the hunger thing, I'm not the least bit bothered right now. What time is it for me? It's
5 hours behind me, Steph.
You always make me aware of that. But it's 9:30 in the morning. I often don't have anything this early anyway, so I'm not even thinking about food. So the hunger, I've gotten used to, periods of time of being hungry.
It's a really good it's a really good point, that, because if I'm saying I'm 17 and a half hours into it, sounds, wow, that's such a long time without food. But when you put some numbers behind that just means that I had the last thing to eat at 8 p.m. last night, and I've skipped my breakfast and lunch, and it's 2:30. So that's all you've done. But the difference is you're full with water now, and that water is doing something inside us. A thing we haven't mentioned, which I think is really important, as well as it being a complete factory reset for my system, and Steph, as Steph alluded to earlier about how it cleanses you, you actually, you might, I'm starting to shine a little bit, and it's not because it's warm, it's because toxins come out, the bad toxins come out of your pores, as you start to cleanse or whatever. So after 24 hours, you should go into ketosis. Am I right in saying that, Steph?
Yeah.
Roughly, and that means you've put your body into the state that you aim to put it in. Two really give away signs for that. One on you, and one I found out yesterday. One, your tongue gets very white on top when you're really into ketosis. But the one I knew was when you wee, which you'll wee loads, your wee will turn a dark yellowish colour. I believe.
I don't know. I haven't experienced that myself.
No, do you know what? I'm second guessing myself now, because I don't remember that last time round, but I do remember when you were in a sort of ketosis state on a diet, that your wee would be quite a strong yellow and have an odour to it, more so than it normally does. But this time round, right now, my wee is clear. So I'll keep my eye on that and see if it does change. Because obviously, right now, even though it's only 17 and a half hours into it, the water I'm putting in is flushing straight through my system now and coming out the other end, and taking the dirty, nasty toxins or whatever I've got inside my body, as well as them coming out your pores. I've heard people say they develop a little bit of a smell in the mouth, a bit of bad breath, and just sort of a bit of an armpit smell, but it's not like a BO smell. It's just, I don't know, whatever your body's doing and the dirty stuff in your body is coming out, you know, it can, but it's not like you can't get on a bus because you're minging. It's nothing as bad as that. That's just me normally.
I knew we were going to go there. So one of the things too I wanted to touch on is the myth about fasting is that you go into a starvation state, which is not true, and that you start burning muscle, that you muscle waste away, and that's absolutely not true either. I plan to, well, I do weight train normally, but I'm going to continue my weight training routine while I'm fasting. It's not going to change anything. I'm not going to do cardio, but I don't do a lot of cardio anyway. I only do about 10 minutes to warm up, and then I do weights. And that was also part of how I lost the 45 pounds initially last year, was intermittent fasting. So I was skipping breakfast every day, and high intensity interval training. So not a lot of cardio, but, you know, hard, like working really, really hard. High intensity interval training is you're working at sort of your maximum for short bursts of time. And then I was doing, you know, weight training and core exercises and that sort of thing as well. It's quite an easy way to train, you know, not a lot of time involved. But anyway, I just wanted to dispel the myth about like if your body's going into sort of muscle wasting or whatever. It's not true. You can weight train, and you're actually going to build muscle during this time. You can very easily build muscle. You're burning fat, and if you work out, you're going to build muscle same as you would in any other state.
Yeah, there's a science behind it that back to Neanderthal man, you know, they fasted just by the way they lived, and that's why it's at no detriment to our bodies now. We're just spoiled now by eating 3 or 5 times a day.
Yeah.
Obviously, hunter-gatherers used to have to go out and find it, and you might only eat once a day. So it's not that big a thing. It sounds a lot worse than it is.
The way we eat, I mean, I say we, I'm talking about just most people in the world, in the Western world, the way we eat it's really dietary abuse. I mean, it's, you know, I don't push any particular type of diet like paleo or whatever, but there is something to the way people used to live, like you're saying, hunter-gatherers. You know, they would have a big feast after they, you know, killed something, and they would feast on that for a few days. But then during the time when they were before the next hunt or whatever, I mean, they would live on some berries and nuts and things. And that was a fasting time, and it is really one of the most healing ways and natural ways for the human body to to live is, you know, on fairly restricted calories, and then, you know,
Yeah.
a
So,
larger amount of fat
so,
and protein.
so I guess,
Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud. Carry on.
so that's the gist of why we're doing it, how you do it, more importantly, why we're doing it. You know, you've got to listen to your body. They say that once the hunger comes back, that's when you should break your fast. Now, you can't just break your fast and go eat an 8-ounce steak, because your body would really struggle in the state it's in to start digesting that and breaking it down. For me personally, the 2 times I've done it before, the first thing I eat afterwards is a very basic soup. No bread, obviously, or anything like that. And your first 2 meals. So if I break it, if on day 3, if I break it that morning, then breakfast it will be, I've no idea what it'll be, chicken soup or vegetable soup, something very soft.
Vegetable soup.
Vegetable soup. And maybe do a can in the morning and a can at lunchtime. And then if I've only done a 3-day fast, then I could eat something solid for my tea, basically. That's only 3 days. The longer you go, then you should come off it a little bit slower for every day you add on to it, I believe.
Yeah, you just want to gently reintroduce food. Soft cooked vegetables are good. You don't want a lot of raw fruits and veg, because it's high in fiber, and it's kind of a lot. It can be sort of a shock to your digestive system to suddenly throw in something that's, you know, going to take a lot of digestive enzymes that haven't been active for, you know, a few days. So just, you know, soft cooked vegetables are really the best way to break a fast. I would prefer you get some fresh vegetables and cook them than have canned soup. But
I'm actually planning to, when I break my fast, to do smoothies. That's the way I'm going to do it this time. Instead of soup, I'm going to have a fruit and veg smoothie made up. Because obviously, when there's no solids, your body doesn't have to break it down. So if you have a smoothie, a lot of the work's done for your body already. I do believe there's stuff like, there's some fruits that you have to stay away from. I believe avocado is one of them. I might be wrong, but I don't know if I might be wrong. I don't know.
I don't know I haven't read that you have to stay away from avocado, but avocados are quite high in fat, so maybe it's just that.
Right, could be that.
Like having a steak is high in fat and protein, and
Yeah.
a lot to kind of break down, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think a small amount wouldn't hurt you. You wouldn't want to eat like a smoothie.
Especially when it's mushed up. Yeah. So yeah, my plan is if I get to the 3-day and 3rd-day mark, then I'll have a smoothie for breakfast, and I'll have a smoothie for lunch, and then something small but solid, and then the day after, you know, you kind of back to normal. But when I say back to normal, I'm not going, oh, we'll go get a Chinese and we'll get a load of crisps and chocolate. That's when the reset bit comes in, because you'll have looked after your body for 4 full days. You won't actually have that hunger still. You'll be a lot more hungry because you're eating again, but you won't have. You especially won't want to go eat a load of crap food, and that's for me. That's where you have to put a little bit more effort into it and make sure that you start as you mean to go on again, and really get the benefit from what you've done in the previous 3 days and make that last.
Yeah, well, I think that's an important aspect of it too. Is it's also a behavioral shift of you know, looking after your body in a way that's we're really meant to more, not abusing large amounts of it. This shouldn't be like, okay, I'm not going to eat for a few days, and then when I'm done, I'm just going to like. This should change how you look at how you fuel your body.
Yeah.
You know, putting the fresh fruits and vegetables and whole grains and, you know, lean proteins in your body as needed, and not like, woohoo, pizza time, you know.
Yeah. The weight loss is, the short-term weight loss while you're doing it is incredible. So be prepared for that. The last time I did 3 days, I did 7.5 pounds in those 3 days, which if you think over half a stone in 3 days, that's a hell of an amount of weight to lose.
That's water.
Yeah, but it's still, it's still weight. When you jump on scales, it's like, wow.
It's water, and it's, your bowels aren't full, and it's that adds up pretty quickly. So
yeah, but if you go longer than 3 days, then you can get to some ridiculous amounts. 16, 17, 18 pounds in 10 days and stuff. But as Steph's saying, it's not true weight loss.
Well, it is at that point. It is at that point because you're burning fat.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, when you fill yourself back up, you automatically become heavier as you fill your bowels up and your tummy up. So yeah, there is a percentage of proper fat loss at the end of it, but it's nowhere near what you're seeing on the scales.
Well, I don't think you should really even look at the scales.
No. Oh, it's interesting.
It's interesting to see what you weigh before and what you weigh, into it and after, but it's not about that. It's about that you're shifting into a healing, detoxification, cleansing state, and you're increasing certain hormones that help you to continue to burn fat, as opposed to muscle. And it's just about shifting your, what did you call it, a total reset, total
factory reset. One thing I should say that I tend to suffer from, and I've just remembered now because I've actually started to develop a little bit of a headache. On each time I've done it, on the first day, I do get a little bit of a headache. It's nothing serious. It's not like a migraine or anything, but I can just feel it there. It doesn't last. It might be for an hour or two, and I won't take any paracetamol or anything. It'll go away on its own. But it's just to sort of make you aware. I mean, obviously, it is a bit of a shock to your system from what you've been doing for the last 6 months or year. So you've got to expect your body to be going, what's going on?
So can I ask, are you smoking?
Yeah. So, sorry. So on that, when myself and Steph, it was Steph who come up with this idea. I'd forgotten about it. It was a year ago since I did the last water fast, or round about that time. And myself and Steph been talking and how we're going to kind of both get the spark lit for each of us. And Steph come up with a water fast idea and just mentioned it in passing, and I went away and started to think about it, and it was like, yeah, that's a great idea. So the kind of what I wanted to do was Sunday today, the water fast, and then day 2 tomorrow I want to stop smoking, and that's still the plan. But obviously I am smoking a day. Obviously you smoke so much less when you're doing this as well, because obviously food has a massive part with smoking after you've had a meal or whatever, or a coffee. So yeah, I've hardly had any cigs today, but yeah, I really do need to try and add that to my day 2 tomorrow. So that's the plan, but I'm not going to go any further than that just yet to see. I want to see how I feel when I wake up.
Okay. I think you really need to not smoke. The whole point of this is you're detoxifying your body. If you're putting toxins into your body, you're completely defeating the purpose.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, gonna try anyway, as I say, but I'm not really giving it any thought. All my energy's into just doing this day 1 correctly right now. A lot of people don't sleep very well on the first night. Never bothered me on the 2 times I've done it. I slept like a log. I love that empty feeling. I love that. And you wake up even more so with it, and then you can jump on scales. Seth might not, I do, just to see, you might have just knocked off 2 or 3 pounds on your first day, and obviously you wake up and you're in pretty much in the ketosis stage now, so you're kind of doing it. You're doing it as it should be done. So that's about it from me, really.
Yeah, no, I don't want to go too into, the science behind it and what all happens. I just wanted to, dispel a few of the myths and to, more than anything, make it clear we're not doing this for weight loss.
Yeah.
It's not about that. It's about resetting. Really, for me, it's a mental thing. It's a mental, emotional, kind of where I was at, how I was feeling about life, and I just wanted, kind of a detoxification kickstart, get some more mental clarity and energy and all that. So that kind of brings us to what we'd said we would talk about, why we decided to do this. And that's just, as I said earlier, the stress of life was starting to get a bit on top of me. I very, very briefly.
Sorry, timer's going off. I do apologise. Carry on.
Continue?
Well, carry on until it goes off. Yeah.
Just that, I briefly fallen back into an addictive behavior. I thought, oh, I'm going to start smoking again because I'm stressed out. So that was kind of where I had to draw the line in the sand and say, right, I have to do something different because I'm letting the stress of what's happening in my life right now get to me to the point where I think it's acceptable after being quit from cigarettes for 2 weeks to go and buy a pack and think, oh, I'll just start again. I mean, that's, it was time to do a bit of a mental emotional reset. So that was part of it for me.
It's difficult. I mean, I spoke about on my solo video what I'm going through at the moment, and it's not going through. I'm kind of coming out the other side of it, but it's all very overwhelming. And to be honest, it's no surprise that things like this put the little spark out on you. It's there's only so much we can deal with, and I'm not talking about people who have had addictions. I'm talking about just general human beings. When you get a load on your plate of massive general proper life-changing stuff, and it is difficult. I don't, there's no right and wrong way of coming through it. You just got to bite down and get through it the best way you can. But I think we're both at a stage now. Again, it's very different circumstances. Steph's more so with a new career, but it's you do get to a stage where I think myself and Steph were at, where we're a little bit fed up of, again, trying to reinvent ourselves for the next day and say, do you know what, tomorrow I'm going to do this better. You can only do that for so long, and when you keep failing at it, it grinds away at you a little bit. So I think, although water fast might sound a little bit drastic to some, I think it's a perfect way to get your mojo back, as they say.
Well, that's what we're going to try and do. We're going to try and get our mojo back with a few days of fasting.
Yeah. And that's, if you do it correctly, that's what it does. It's not like you have to have a different mindset after you've done it. That mindset will come from within you through the water fast. It's really good. Another thing I've not talked about, I'll very quickly just go back to it. The sense of well-being you'll get round about day 2. You absolutely feel top of the world. And it's such a peace. So a lot of people, now I don't understand this side of it, Steph will, but the spiritual side of it, a lot of people do a water fast just for those benefits. Now, again, I'm a little bit too thick to understand what that actually means and what it does, but I can relate to the sense of well-being. That is truly amazing.
Well, world religions have done fasting for centuries. It's I mean, probably the most common one that people know about it is Ramadan. Muslims fast. It's sort of more of a form of intermittent fasting because it's fasting throughout the daylight hours and then eating at night. So it's not a 3 or 4 day kind of fast. But anyway, you can read about fasting and over history, and it's always been done as a not only a healing thing, but definitely a spiritual. I think it's to do with focus. It shifts your focus on, for a religious person, they would say it helps them to shift their focus to, God and their beliefs. It's not a religious thing for me. It's not even a spiritual thing for me, but I want that mental clarity and the, just the feeling of well-being you were talking about. I think that's,
it is a nice little journey to go on. If you've not done it and you're watching this and it's intriguing you and you're going to do a little bit more research on it, it's a really cool thing to do. As long as you're not feeling ill with it, and it's not it's not really hard work, because it shouldn't be hard work at all.
No, you have to learn to listen to your body as well. And if day 1 you're going to feel hunger, the second and third day you shouldn't feel hungry. But if you suddenly start to feel like, I'm done with this, I need to eat, then your fast is done. Your body's telling you it's time to.
Well, that's exactly what happened to me on that third day. I was actually 2 hours short. It was about 8 p.m. at night, and no, sorry, I tell a lie. It was 6 p.m. at night, and the 8 p.m. mark was my 3 days. And I was really, really hungry. Now, I don't know if that was more psychological because of the time, and I was counting down. I only had 2 hours to go. Because I remember at the time, I actually wanted just to go through and just get through till 10 p.m.-ish and go to bed without eating, because I would have gained another 10, 12 hours on top of my fast, and then just ate in the morning. But I actually remember speaking to Steph back then as well, and it was like, no, I'm actually going to eat something now, because that hunger was back. So although you can push it a little bit, as Steph says, you've got to do the right things as well.
Yeah, you listen to your body. It's not about. I think you're very goal oriented. You're very like numbers oriented, and it's got to be certain. It shouldn't. I mean, yes, there is something to getting past the 24-hour mark, because things start to really start happening. But you shouldn't push it just because you've set a goal to do 5 days or 7 days, or if you're not feeling good, then you should stop fasting.
Yeah.
You should actually feel good when you're doing it.
Yeah, definitely. And you'll be very surprised just how good you do feel. And excuse me, I do apologise. That's smoking for you, isn't it? Yeah, that's the water telling me. Jesus, Glenn, no more of that shit in your lungs. Forgot what I was going to say. Never mind, I've forgotten. It's gone.
You need some of that mental clarity.
Yeah, I could do with some. But one thing I will say already, and I'm obviously in the UK and it's just coming up for 3 p.m. I actually feel a little bit better. Nothing to do with a water fast, but I actually do feel a little bit better up here today, just because I'm now kind of focused on something good again. And that mental battle of balls in the next day up every time, that's kind of gone away now. And because I'm kind of on this short-term path for the next 3 days, it's great. All the other bullshit has gone out of my head, and it's quite nice. All I've got to concentrate on is just, chill out, drink some water, and it's quite nice. And knowing just by doing that, all the internal benefits are happening inside me right now. I'm not having to worry about tomorrow or whatever. So it's quite a nice place to be honest.
Yeah.
I think I'm done with that, Steph. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, good. I'm glad we touched a bit on the psychological, emotional, because I think there's the body, mind, spirit connection to, your issues are in your tissues, right? It's what, it's.
Oh, see what she did there? Say it again.
Oh.
Say it again.
Your issues are in your tissues. No, but there is a connection. It's not a tissue.
Oh.
In every cell of your body, your emotions are there. If you have a toxic liver and you have toxins in your body, it's going to affect your mental state and your emotions. And if you have a lot of emotional toxicity, which you've certainly been through recently, that's going to get into your cells and your tissues. I mean, it's all related. And there's something to be said for doing a physical cleanse, like a water fast, for all of those things, but also, meditation. And we're going to get into other stuff right now, but just remembering the connection, the body, mind, spirit connection. It's all related. So this is just one way to kind of kickstart that process of taking better care of ourselves. And
yeah. So I don't know if Steph's going to do a video again of how it was for her after she's completed it. I don't know, but I'm going to do a little very short video blog. I started it this morning, just saying it's day one, and I'm just going to make a very quick video every night, just saying how the day went and how I'm feeling, and then I'll put that all together at the end with some results of, I'm going to say weight loss, but just describe what my body does during this process and how long I go for, which I think will be quite interesting to look back on.
Maybe I can join you in the last video.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, yeah. Obviously, you'll have to wait because your fast will stop in a couple of days, and I'll be like 10 days, 20 days, maybe. I might go a year. I don't know yet. Anyway, I'm only joking. But yeah, we'll put some results together as well, just so people can see. And obviously, if there's any, they're all the pros. But if there's any cons we come across, we'll talk about them as well. Cool.
Cool. Well, thanks, Len, for enlightening us all.
I don't know about enlightening, but yeah, that was good. You got anything else left to say, Steph? Or
So.
no? Right. Thanks for watching, everyone.